So last night about 10 p.m., we started receiving calls of a vehicle accident that occurred on Mill Avenue, just south of Curry Road here in Tempe. Vehicle was traveling northbound on Curry Road. Vehicle was traveling northbound on Mill Avenue, just south of Curry Road. The time this vehicle was traveling northbound, there was a pedestrian that was walking a bicycle from the west side of the road to the east side of the road. Once that vehicle got into the lane of traffic of the vehicle, once the pedestrian got into the lane of traffic with the vehicle struck the pedestrian, at which time she was transported to a local area hospital and was pronounced deceased at the hospital. Investigators were able to talk to the driver of the vehicle. The driver was identified as Rafael Vasquez, 44-year-old. Rafael was cooperative, and there was no impairment shown for the driver of the vehicle at the time. The pedestrian was identified as Elaine Herzberg, 49-year-old. Family was notified, and again, the investigation continues. Just talk about the vehicle, because I know there'll be some questions about the vehicle. The vehicle was a 2017 Volvo XC90, which is an SUV. It was gray in color. We had an opportunity to speak to the family, and we in Tempe, our hearts go out to the family and friends of the pedestrian that was struck crossing the street last night. The vehicle was a Volvo again. It was a self-driving vehicle. It was in the autonomous mode at the time. Also, the vehicle operator was behind the wheel of the vehicle at the time. Message that we do want to share out is obviously the safety of our citizens here in Tempe is of utmost importance. And we just want to make sure that our citizens are safe. And if there's availability to do it, please use the crosswalks when you're crossing the street. Again, nobody wants to go through this. We in our department are investigators, and I'm sure the family also. None of us want to go through this ever again. So using the crosswalks will definitely limit any tragic incidents from happening again. At this time, we can take any questions that the media may have. Preliminary investigation showed that the vehicle was traveling at approximately 40 miles an hour. But again, our investigation is just beginning. It's in the early stages, and there's going to be some details that we don't have specifically, but that's what we have initially.
Did the car ever show any signs of slowing down before it hit the woman?
Again, our investigation did not show at this time that there were significant signs of the vehicle slowing down. But our investigation is going to reveal more once it's complete.
And about how far from the crosswalk was the woman when she was going across the street?
Thank you. I don't know the answer to that question at this time.
Has there been any kind of conclusion drawn thus far as to whether it's the vehicle's fault or the pedestrian's fault?
There's no conclusion. We hate to draw conclusions. A conclusion will come at the end of the investigation. But again, the vehicle was traveling northbound, and the pedestrian was outside of a crosswalk. So it was mid-block. And as soon as she walked into the lane of traffic, she was struck by the vehicle that was traveling northbound.
Is there anything you can share with us as far as a statement that the driver of the vehicle may have made? Did he indicate that he didn't see the bicyclist, the pedestrian walk across with the bicycle? Did he say she just kind of came out of nowhere? Did he say it was dark, he never saw her? Anything you can share about his statement?
Sure. I do not have information I can share about the statement. Again, this is just the beginning stages of this incident, and that is part of the investigation. So we can't, I don't have any information on that right now.
Is the operator's responsibility to take control if there is something around that car?
I can't speak to the policy and procedure for Uber. I'm sure that's the perception. However, I don't have the information as to that being the responsibility Again, I'm sure many would think that that's a responsibility, but that would be a question for them.
So if there were charges, is it possible the operator, though he wasn't driving, would be charged?
This investigation is going to go to the county attorney's office, so I don't have any information on charges at this time. That's going to be up to the county attorney's office. And once they decide whether there's charges or not, then that determination can be made.
Is there dash cam video that shows the accident? Are there different angles showing perhaps one pointed at the driver? How much evidence do you have in terms of video from the car?
Thank you. There is evidence. There is video evidence available. That video evidence is not available to be released at the time because it is part of the investigation.
So there's dash cam video showing a forward shot. Is there video of what the driver's doing? Like how many angles do you have?
There are several angles that show the driver, and they show outside of the vehicle to the front, and they show the driver also.
Have you seen that video?
I have.
You have?
Yes, I have.
Can you describe what that video shows?
It just shows the vehicle traveling northbound, and it shows the pedestrian approaching the vehicle.
How helpful will that video be in this investigation? Not every car has that many angles, video, sensors. Obviously, the investigation, that video and sensor should greatly help, right?
Sure, it will definitely assist in the investigation, without a doubt. Our investigators have that information, and they will be using that as a part of their investigation, as will the Maricopa County Attorney's Office using it as part of their investigation.
Do you know about this just as if someone was actually driving the vehicle? Is the investigation the same, trying to determine who's at fault? Could the accident have been avoided? Was there something the driver or the vehicle could have done differently? Is the investigation basically similar, whether or not it's an autonomous vehicle or whether or not it's actual person behind the wheel?
Right. The investigation is going to be similar in the fact that they are going to attempt to try to find, who was possibly at fault and how we can better be safe, whether it's pedestrians or whether it's the vehicle itself. But that is going to be a part of the investigation.
Can you describe as best as you can what it means when you say in autonomous mode? Because the layperson may not understand what exactly that means pertaining to how this vehicle operates when it's out and about on the roads.
Right. Autonomous mode, that would be something really for Uber to identify as autonomous mode, but the idea of the driver not having to be in physical control at the time, but a driver being behind the wheel. So as for an exact definition of what autonomous mode is, I'd probably have to refer you to Uber so they can better answer that question for you.
And so maybe about a year ago, the same kind of vehicle, self-driving Uber car was involved in another collision. That one, nobody was hurt. But, I guess how often are you responding to accidents, fender benders involving these kinds of vehicles?
Right. For me, those are the only two that I know of. Those two incidents, again, the first one, as you had mentioned, there weren't any injuries, and this one, very unfortunately, ended up being a fatality. But as to how many of those are the two that I know of for sure, and I'm not aware of any more.
Was the woman who was struck by the vehicle suspected of being impaired?
There were no signs of impairment shown initially in the investigation, so no.
Was she homeless?
Was who homeless, ma'am?
Homeless.
The victim? I don't have that information. I believe she may have been, but
And do you know where she was coming from?
not per se where she was coming from. Just on the street, she was coming from the west side of the street. But prior to that, I don't know where she was coming from.
Do you know if it was one of those yellow bikes that you just pick up, and was that the bicycle she was pushing?
I know that that's new information here, and I don't have that information at this time if that was that yellow bike.
At the point where she was crossing, was it fairly dark? You know, that it's a well-lit area where the impact took place, or what do you know?
Well, I think that's going to be a part of the investigation. It was, obviously the lights of the vehicle there, but as to speak to any other lighting, I don't have that information at the time. We will be providing more information tomorrow about the same time regarding this, and we won't be taking any more questions at the time. So we appreciate it. We thank you very much for coming out here.